Brandon is sitting alone in a bench of the schoolyard and has a notebook in his hand. The title appears right next to him. It says the most beautiful things. Brandon walks in the schoolyard. He passes by a group of students. Brandon is sitting at the back of the classroom. Everyone is silently studying. Brandon opens his locker and notices a paper for prom. He stares at it sadly and puts it in his locker again, then walks away. In the school hall, Brandon catches a couple kissing. They stop kissing to glare at him. Brandon feels awkward and uncomfortable, so he runs away. He passes by a girl and tries to say hello, but she doesn't respond. Brandon walks again in the schoolyard. They are all talking to each other. Brandon glances at them. He looks sad and lonely. Brandon is in the subway, waiting for his subway. He arrives home. He calls his parents, but no one answers. He goes to his room and takes out the prom paper and stares at it sadly. The next day, Brandon is sitting on the same bench, but a girl sits on the bench right next to him. He hesitates, then tries to say hello again. The girl ignores him, so he looks down sadly. The girl attempts to talk to him via sign language. He doesn't understand. So she writes her name on a paper. Her name is Emily. Brandon writes at his turn his name.
In the schoolyard, Brandon shows Emily that he has bought a notebook so that they can communicate. Emily laughs because she also has to buy a notebook. Brandon gets happier. He got very close to Emily. They have a drawing contest trying to draw a student in the yard. Brandon tells Emily that he likes her drawing. She also makes him understand the same thing. Brandon smiles when he sees his shared notebook with Emily. In the schoolyard, Brandon tried to put his hand on Emily's thigh, but he dropped his notebooks. Emily smiles awkwardly. One day, Brandon asked to Emily if she ever tried to speak. Emily answered no by nodding her head.
Why?
Brandon asked her why, and she said that people were going to laugh at her. Brandon tells her that he will never laugh at her and that he was sorry. Arriving home sad, Brandon hung a prom poster on his mirror. The next day, when Brandon was walking towards Emily, he saw her with another boy and he went to sit someone else. Brandon returned home sad and disappointed. At home, he received a message from Emily asking him where he was. He replied that he was ill with a sigh. Then Emily asked to Brandon if he had missed her. Brandon smiles and ran across from his mirror and began to practice asking Emily to accompany him to the prom.
The next day, Brandon goes to school with a bouquet of orange roses for Emily. He's very excited. Brandon walks up to her, but he sees the same guy from the other day sit on the bench. The guy kisses her. Brandon turns away quickly and leaves. He doesn't see the girl push the guy away. He throws the flowers away. Brandon starts to cry. He rests against the wall and slowly falls down. Brandon is now sad again. He excuses himself from class. He goes to the restroom to wash his face and calm down. After washing his face, Brandon goes to the distributor to take out some tissues. It doesn't work, so he starts to get angry and lose his temper. Brandon hits the stall behind him. He calms down, then slowly walks back to the distributor. He takes out some tissues. Brandon exits the restroom. He goes to the hallway. He sees Emily. Brandon tries to run away. Emily panics. She tries to call him. And for the first time, she makes a noise. Brandon stops. He's very surprised. Emily tries to talk again. Brandon turns around, then looks at her.
So, I hit him.
Brandon smiles. He asks her if she could talk using sign language. Emily starts to tear up. Brandon asks Emily out to prom using sign language. He does it just like how he did in practice. When Emily understood, she starts to tear up. Emily smiles and runs up to him. She hugs him tightly. Brandon hugs her back. The end. The screen fades to black. A quote by Helen Keller appears on screen. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen, heard, or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. The credits roll. The short film is made by Cameron Covell. Nick Lopez plays Brandon. Annalisa Gutierrez plays Emily. The rest of the cast